Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ASEAN-Japan Center's ASEAN-Japan Insights webinar series. My name is Katrina Navallo. I'm a program manager at the ASEAN-Japan Center, and I will be your host for this webinar. The ASEAN-Japan Insights webinar series aims to be the leading information sharing platform on key issues on sustainability and innovation in ASEAN and Japan. Our speakers comprise of leaders from the industry, government, academia, and enterprises from within the region. Today's webinar is a topic that's both timely and exciting, as AI and digital technology are increasingly recognized as essential drivers in addressing climate change and promoting sustainability. Through presentations and discussions featuring key experts from Japan and Singapore, we will explore the role of AI and digital technologies in reducing carbon emissions and advancing green initiatives. As the title suggests, these innovations are paving the way for a more sustainable future, with AI and digital tools helping to break barriers and lead the change in the global effort to combat climate change in ASEAN and Japan. To formally begin our webinar, it is my pleasure to introduce the Secretary General of the ASEAN-Japan Center, Dr. Kunihiko Hirabayashi. Dr. Hirabayashi has a wealth of experience of more than 18 years with UNICEF as a regional advisor in East Asia and the Pacific prior to taking on his role at our center. Secretary General, please.
Thank you. Very good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the fifth session of the ASEAN-Japan Insights Series webinar titled Smart Solutions, Harnessing Artificial Intelligence or AI and the Digital Technology in Reducing Carbon Emissions in ASEAN and Japan. Actually, needless to say, climate change remains one of the most urgent global challenges we face today. With global temperature rising, extreme weather events becoming more frequent, and the ecosystem and livelihood under threat, we almost all know the need of effective solution has been never more critical. Technology, especially AI and digital tools, play a pivotal role in our collective effort to address this crisis. By harnessing innovation, we can not only mitigate the impact of climate change, but also build a more sustainable and resilient future for our communities. Green and blue growth is the only path toward achieving sustainable and a prosperous future for us. This vision underscores our mission today, transforming the challenge of climate change into opportunities for innovation and sustainable progress. Today, we will explore how AI and digital technology are being leveraged to reduce carbon emissions in the ASEAN region and Japan. Both regions have made remarkable progress in utilizing digital innovation for environmental sustainability. For instance, smart grids and AI-driven energy optimization are transforming energy sectors, while digital solutions are fostering sustainable practices in industries ranging from agriculture to transportation. These advancements demonstrate how technology can drive significant environment benefit and sustainable development. Our distinguished panel of experts will share their insight and experiences in applying AI and digital technology to real-world environment challenges. Their expertise will provide us with valuable perspective on how these technologies can be scaled, adapted, and integrated to maximize their positive impact. We will delve into success stories and examine the opportunities and the obstacles in developing and deploying AI and digital tools to combat climate change across various sectors. I really encourage each of you to actively participate in today's discussion. Ask questions, share your thought, and consider how we can collaboratively to innovate and create a lasting solution. Together, we have the potential to accelerate the adoption of smart solutions and make tangible differences in reducing carbon emissions across ASEAN and Japan. Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. I really look forward to productive and insightful session. Confident that our conversations will inspire new ideas and action that bring us closer to a sustainable and a greener future. I thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General Hirabayashi, for opening our webinar and also for highlighting the need for increased cooperation between countries in our region in leveraging technology to reach meaningful solutions to address our sustainability issues and climate change. The ASEAN-Japan Center is immensely honored to co-organize this webinar with the Philippine Department of Environment and Natural Resources. DENR plays a crucial role in the environmental conservation and sustainability efforts in the Philippines, focusing on promoting policies and initiatives that address the country's environmental challenges. Through their leadership, they foster collaboration between various stakeholders to ensure the protection and sustainable use of natural resources. To formally open our webinar, we are proud to welcome DENR Undersecretary for Finance, Information Systems, and Climate Change, Attorney Annalisa Rebueltote. Undersecretary Anna has kindly put together a recorded video message to deliver her remarks.
Good afternoon to all and warm welcome to the 5th ASEAN-Japan Insights Webinar Series. On behalf of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources in the Philippines and in partnership with the ASEAN-Japan Center, I extend my gratitude to everyone present, our esteemed panelists, participants, and stakeholders for coming together to explore innovative pathways toward a sustainable future. The challenges of climate change are global, but their impacts are felt here in ASEAN. From rising temperatures to extreme weather events, our region stands on the front line. Addressing these challenges demands not only commitment but also innovation. It is here where artificial intelligence and digital technologies offer transformative opportunities to reduce carbon emissions, enhance efficiency, and drive sustainable economic growth. Japan's technological leadership and ASEAN's growing digital readiness provide a fertile ground for collaboration. Together, through initiatives like this webinar, we aim to foster knowledge sharing, capacity building, and practical solutions that can scale across countries, industries, and communities. At the DNR, we recognize the critical role of technology in achieving our climate goals, whether it's improving resource management, enhancing environmental monitoring, or promoting clean energy. Smart solutions are key to enabling data-driven decisions and empowering stakeholders at every level. Today's discussion is a step towards harnessing these innovations to build a more resilient, low-carbon future for our region. I look forward to the insights that will emerge from our panel of experts as we uncover how AI and digital technologies can shape smarter, greener solutions for ASEAN and Japan. Let me take this opportunity to sincerely thank our partners at the ASEAN-Japan Center for organizing this event and for their steadfast commitment to fostering regional cooperation. I also thank our participants who bring diverse perspectives and share resolve to tackle the challenges of our time. As we begin this session, let us embrace the spirit of collaboration and innovation working hand in hand to achieve our shared vision of sustainability and progress. Thank you, and I wish us all a productive and inspiring discussion. Merry Christmas also to everyone.
Thank you very much, Undersecretary Rebueltote, for your warm welcome and message for everyone. Today's lineup of speakers is truly impressive, bringing together experts from Singapore and Japan, specializing in AI, digital technology, and sustainability. The presentations will highlight the role of AI and digital technologies in carbon emissions reductions, as well as the challenges and opportunities for collaboration between ASEAN countries and Japan. The presentations will be followed by a panel discussion featuring distinguished experts who will share their insights on the latest developments in AI, digital innovation, and the potential to drive environmental sustainability. In the third installment of the ASEAN-Japan Insights last March 2024, we learned about initiatives on carbon emissions trading from Japan, Indonesia, and Singapore. At present, voluntary carbon markets are in place in these countries, but as of yet, there are no regional carbon trading that have been in place. While country support in carbon pricing are underway, one challenge is how to establish connectivity between local economies and the local markets. This necessitates harmonizing policies, regulations, standards, and carbon pricing. As of February 2024, the Japanese government has forged bilateral agreements with 29 partner countries, including 7 from ASEAN, namely Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Myanmar, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. Leveraging the Joint Coordinating Mechanism framework is expected to pave the way for enhanced cooperation through standard setting and shared rules to facilitate the creation of an integrated regional voluntary carbon market. Now, as we delve into the presentations, our first presentation is supposed to be given by Mr. Moritz Weigel from the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, he is unable to join us today. Hence, we would like to proceed with our next speaker from Japan. In this presentation, we will hear about the latest advancements in Japanese AI and satellite technology that could play a crucial role in combating carbon emissions. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Mr. Hiroya Ishitsubo. As Chief Finance Officer and General Manager of the Agri-Innovation at SAGRI, he leads corporate planning and decarbonization projects related to regenerative agriculture. SAGRI, a Japanese agri-tech company, uses satellite data and machine learning to monitor farmlands. Prior to joining SAGRI, he worked in corporate finance at Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation and in M&A Strategy Alliance at PwC Advisory. He also worked at the International Finance Corporation, part of the World Bank Group. Let's warmly welcome Ishitsubo-san.
Thank you, Katrina. This is Hiroya Ishitsubo from SAGRI, our CFO, and there's a GM of Agri-Innovation Department. I'm gonna explain what we're doing using my pitch presentation material. So let me share my screen, okay? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. So I'm joining, I'm really pleased to join this session, and I'm joining from Vietnam. So it's really good opportunity to say about the ASEAN and Japan collaboration. So SAGRI is a startup company which established in 2018. And then we use satellite and AI to monitor farmland. And then the basic technology was developed by our Chief Research Officer from Gifu University. That's why we call our company is a startup from Gifu University. And we are trying to tackle climate change. So this is the list of our supporters. So as many of you already knew that recently Japanese government really supports the startups, especially for impact startups. So this is a list of the kind of ministries. So MAF and Environment, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Economy, they all support our activities. And also recently in 2024 March, we received the Prime Minister's Awards for space exploration flights. So this is our kind of memorial or kind of milestone. And then we, as a CFO, our company received our Series A financing round in July 2024. So this is the kind of list of the investors who supported our activities. This is the basic information of the cycle itself. So from here, I'm explaining what we do to tackle climate change. So we use satellite data and AI-based technology, and then we provide a variety of data and analytics services for our farmland around the world. So satellite data means satellite image, high-resolution satellite image, or optical satellite data. So we call the farmland polygon creation. So as I'm explaining here, we use satellite imagery in 2 years used for creating a farmland plot. And then this is kind of infrastructure technology to visualize farmland information. So this is kind of digital like a map for farmlands. And also we use wavelength data from optical satellite and to analyze soil chemistry like total carbon, total nitrogen, pH, CAC, etc. And then we can visualize to someone who want to analyze this data. So as many of you know, the recently total carbon or nitrogen related to agriculture farmland is really important to consider GH emissions from this sector. That's why we focus on these technologies. And so this is what we can get the data, and then which is related to our analysis. And then so we can grasp the area of compartmentary farmland and analyze the growth of soil conditions from the surface of farmland. And then we acquire wavelength data reflect from farmlands. So this is a basic our technology to analyze the soil condition. Also, using this technology, we can provide a kind of crop advisory service who can this can support the farmers' activities actually. So this is the list of the problems we want to solve. Decarbonizing agriculture. So reducing this emission from this sector is really important because as you may know that emissions from our flag sector, which is our forest, land, agriculture sector, is account for around 22% of global GHG emissions. So tackling these sectors, reducing emissions are really important to kind of support the global GHG emission reduction. So, and also recently, because the world population is growing, so tackling this kind of problem is really urgent and important. And also, these sectors' GHG emissions is really relevant to a multiple sector of companies, because recently, more and more companies, especially in developed world, to kind of measure the GHG emission from their supply chain. So for example, someone who procure sugarcane from Thailand, let's say, so they need to measure the GHG emission from Thailand farmland. So how to tackle supply chain GHG emission is also key to this sector. And lastly, as I explained, to monitor supply chain GHG, it's kind of difficult for someone who don't access to the farmlands. That's why we use satellite, because the satellite can monitor farmland globally. It's really important to this kind of technology to problem this new kind of problems globally. So this is our business model. So we do two types of decarbonization business. One carbon credit and one carbon offsetting. So carbon credit is very famous recently. So I don't think we need to explain the carbon credit itself. But our business model is to monitor farmland soil conditions or how to reduce chemical fertilizers. So we focus on the kind of soil condition type of carbon credit or water management in paddy fields, which is related to agriculture. So once we increase soil organic carbon and reducing chemical fertilizer, we can generate the carbon credit, for example. And also, if we can manage water management very well, we can reduce methane gas emissions from paddy fields. So using this kind of methodologies where we generate carbon credit and then we use satellite data as our technology to monitor this project. So the reason why I'm in Vietnam today is I'm attending one event signing ceremony for our first project in Vietnam for a carbon credit project. So it's kind of, we plan to release next Monday. So I don't explain this today, but please check our website next week. And so the next is carbon insetting. So as I explained in the previous slide, many company, especially in developed world, they want to monitor farmland in their supply chain to manage their kind of decarbonization project. So because they need to disclose their scope 3 GH emissions, which is from supply chain. So we visualize GH emission related data to clients in, especially today, our main client in Japan, but we can provide those data and using our satellite analysis of soil condition in the supply chain. So I want to explain more detail about what we do for this is in this page carbon credit. So our main target is farmers in developing countries, such as we see such as countries in ASEAN. So our now focus area is Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia, etc. And then our partner is especially in Japan. So we get the investment from Japanese company and then deploy those funds to the farmers farmland in ASEAN countries. So we use that fund to convert farmers' practices more eco-friendly, and then we can get related data and apply the carbon credit for better or gold standard. And also recently, Japanese government wants to start the JCM scheme between ASEAN countries about agriculture, even agriculture sector. So we see some development in the methodology for paddy field sector. So that's we really want to focus on now. So this is what's the Sagri's value to the carbon credit project. So our technology is very unique to monitor farmland soil on a farm at water level in the paddy fields using AI and satellite data. So we can take this technology to manage the project very well, because instead of managing the project without any technology, it's really difficult to manage the broad area farmland project. So we can maybe do a small POC for carbon credit project in the farmland, but to expand the farmland, we need to cover broad area of farmland. So satellite or technology is really important to manage those projects. And also another merit is we are a Japanese startup, and then so we have good access with Japanese investors. And then we have partner in ASEAN countries. So we can kind of be the bridge of the Japan and ASEAN. So funding from Japan side and then to convert farmer activity in ASEAN country. So this is what we do for to manage the carbon credit project. So the next thing is carbon insetting. So this is what I explained in a previous slide. So the client is mainly for food and beverage sectors in Japan or Europe and US. So someone who procure sugarcane from Thailand, someone who want to monitor farmland in Thailand for cassava, etc. So they don't have enough access to the farmers in Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, but we can use satellite data and AI analytics and also we have developed the mobile application to ask farmers to input their farmers' activities. So using combining those information about the satellite data and also data from application, we can calculate the kind of GH emission data, and then we can visualize those data to our clients. And then also, even the farmer side, we can advise the suppliers that they can implement program to reduce GH emissions. For example, reducing chemical fertilizer and imposing more manure. And then they can actually reducing their chemical fertilizer cost, and also potentially once they increase soil organic carbon in their farmlands, they can generate carbon credits. So this is a kind of combination of the carbon insetting and credit to via kind of regenerative agriculture, which is really important recently. So this is a slide for a market opportunity. So as we are startup, so we need to grow very quickly. And then the reason why we focus on this scope 3 supply chain GHG emission is that the size of the market. So this is a number about the carbon footprint of large food and beverage manufacturers. So 88% of GHG are from their supply chain, and mainly from procured inputs. So more than 50% of their GHG emission across the supply chain is from procured inputs. That's why we focus on how to reduce their GHG from raw materials from farmers. For example, barley for the beer company, or sugar for the food kind of snack companies, etc. So that's a target for our solutions. So we have some partners, and then especially this is August release, but we just released another one last week. So this is our client, Kirin, which is very well-known beverage company in Japan. And we started to kind of provide service to them to monitor their suppliers kind of carbon stock in the farmland. So more and more these kind of companies want to monitor carbon stock of their supply chain, and then because once they increase carbon stock in the farmlands, we can store more GHG as CO2 in the farmlands. So that kind of activity, I believe the companies who want to focus on this sector is growing in the future. So we are developing technology as well, and then we want to expand our service to those companies, and then we can be a bridge between Japan and the ASEAN or other countries globally. So, yep, that's it from me, and I really want to have kind of Q&A session later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ishitsubo-san, for sharing with us the exciting and impactful updates and advancements in terms of decarbonizing in the agricultural sector and in the food supply chain. It's exciting that you're also already expanding and making way through Vietnam, and perhaps later on in our panel discussion, there will be an opportunity for us to raise some questions and have more enlightenment regarding the current technology that SAGRI uses.
Sure, thank you.
Meanwhile, our next speaker will address the barriers hindering the adoption of AI and digital technologies in the fight against carbon emissions reduction among ASEAN member states. Here to join us is Mr. Alex Hong, Director at AIR in Singapore, where he leads innovations in wireless energy. With over 20 years of experience, Alex is a LinkedIn top voice and a top ESG thought leader for Illuminum.com. He chairs blockchain initiatives at the Global Sustainability Foundation Network and is Southeast Asia Ambassador for the Global Blockchain Business Council. Alex also serves as Chief Sustainability Coordinator for YNBC and an advisor for the Green Computing Foundation. Let's all welcome Alex.
Hi, nice to meet all of you. Yeah, it's a great honor to actually be invited on to this discussion, and I'm very glad to hear agriculture as the first thing that we talked about. Let me share my screen before we start. Oops. Unsupported document, weird.
Alex, would you need our support?
Yeah. Could you share the screen? Could you share my slide that I sent to you guys? Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll try to share your presentation from our end.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Somehow it wasn't supported using my PPTX thing. Thank you. Yep, that's good. Yep. Yeah. thank you very much for inviting me to this particular webinar. My name is Alex. As you actually mentioned, I'm very glad to be here because to me, I'm actually very passionate about all things sustainability, because to me, I would like to actually change people's mindset, and of course, the idea of how sustainability can be actually achieved throughout Asia. I've regularly write a lot of business model changes on illuminant.com. As advisory for Green Computing Foundation, we also talk about things that that AI has actually created, which means that we have a lot of AI requires a lot of energy from all over, and how we actually use the power of AI and how we actually manage to actually reduce the use for energy when we generate all this AI, all these large language models to actually help us in our sustainability drive is something that's often not talked about, but is actually very important. And also part of me being part of the Ecota Association as a mentor and a so-called expert, I'm also very interested to understand how we can actually use refi to actually do regenerative finance to help us actually accelerate our sustainability push. Let's move on to the next slide, please. First thing, when we talk about the promise of AI and digital technology in ASEAN, unlocking the potential AI and digital tech for ASEAN's growth. We all know that ASEAN is actually one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and as a block of countries, we represent very close to 600 million people. That's actually a substantial bunch of people within the geographic region. We also know that AI could actually potentially provide up to $1 trillion worth of Southeast Asia GDP by 2030. There's a substantial push factor why we adopt AI, and it's also very important because AI could actually transform what we recognize as a rapidly growing population. You guys have already noticed it, and in Japan, 2025 is where everything happens, where a lot of people become really of a certain age in Japan itself. Similarly to Singapore, when we will have 1/4 of our population being 65 years and above by 2030. So AI could technically actually reduce the impact of a growing population, and also can actually expand productivity and also add much economic push for every country within ASEAN itself. That goes to the fact that this will actually improve healthcare. I'm sure Japan is very much advanced in robotics and AI, as you could show in most of the things that we have read about these days. The problem with our COVID problem actually shows that we want to actually accelerate telemedicine, especially for the fact that we have an aging population. Telemedicine is one of the ways we could actually accelerate medical provision to more people within Southeast Asia. And that's especially true in the remote regions. That is why I feel very strongly for the fact that we require energy transmission to actually reach out to all corners of ASEAN, so that we could technically digitize ASEAN more rapidly. One of the biggest reasons is that with digitization, we could also have better healthcare for people even in the remote regions. Because in the remote regions, it's technically very difficult to send people to actually help others in need of medical help. But with telemedicine and in some rudimentary device, even using our m-commerce, using a handphone, you technically could get some sort of medical aid in such regions which normally we can't get access to. And more importantly, when you electrify certain places, online learning platforms, like what I talk about within this slide, the Indonesian platform, where we reach up to 22 million people out of their 280 million people, which is quite substantial. And of course, Khan academies in Malaysia are expanding access of education. To me, the ability to actually use AI to actually reach more people, and also to the use of electrification to actually have a digital network of learners, will actually accelerate opportunities for ASEAN, create more opportunities, even for Japan, to actually reach out to a more well-trained bunch of people within ASEAN itself to actually expand whatever sustainability program or circularity program that we have here. With AI as well, through refi or fintech or whatever, greater financial inclusion is truly important for Southeast Asia. Over 70% of Southeast Asians are unbanked or underbanked. Digital finance offers really important solutions for people. Imagine the use of AI optimizing supply chains, personalizing learning platforms, tailoring education to individual needs. And of course, we previously mentioned telemedicine connecting remote communities to healthcare providers. We are actually, through AI technology itself and through digital finance, really, for once, empowering a lot of people who never have the ability to be empowered because of distance, poverty, or whatever reasons. Through having AI, through the adoption of AI, we are actually trying to expand the use to more people, having creating more opportunities for more people within ASEAN itself. To me, that is a very, very good thing. This is exactly why, to me, AI is seriously important for Japan and ASEAN as well. Moving on to the next slide, a deeper dive, uneven ground. How do we address the digital divide in ASEAN? The digital divide in ASEAN, one slide before this, please. The deeper dive slide. Digital readiness disparities. We do actually have digital readiness disparities within ASEAN, and it's very, very significant. For example, Singapore has very, very strong internet penetration, and sorry, there's probably 88%. Yeah, very strong internet penetration, probably slightly higher than 88% now. Whereas compared to places like in Myanmar, we are 48%. That is a significant difference when we want to talk about. Yes, it's very, very good to talk about standardization within ASEAN, taxonomy, and all that kind of stuff within ASEAN. But the reality is, there is a very, very big and marked digital divide between all the 10 plus 1 countries within ASEAN. This path of, that is what I want to point out, is that this path is not obviously without obstacles. Significant challenge is the digital divide within ASEAN, disparities of internet access, even digital literacy, and of course, basic infrastructure like electricity is creating an uneven playing field. Imagine, Indonesia has 17,000 islands, okay, give or take. How are we going to reach 17,000 islands with electrification? This is exactly why I'm actually working for this company called AIA. We actually have pioneered wireless photonic energy transmission. Hopefully in the future, we can able to transmit wireless energy through most places that doesn't necessarily have energy or electricity because of cost and because of distance. Okay, this slide, of course, highlights the difference in internet penetration rates in the region. Singapore enjoy universal access. Countries like Myanmar still have a long way to go. And it's not just about connectivity. Access to electrification is critical. If we want to talk about electrification cost itself, my colleagues in Philippines would also understand that electrification is available in the Philippines, but the cost is also very, very high, similar to Singapore. Furthermore, there's varying socioeconomic factors that play a significant role. These would actually include education levels, income inequality, access to social services, all intertwined within the digital readiness factor, right? We from the first world talk about digital readiness as though it's a right. Unfortunately, no, that doesn't apply evenly through ASEAN. For the same thing, ASEAN is not homogeneous. ASEAN has many, many different cultures. The adoption of digitalization is very, very different. Okay, once we can understand these underlying disparities, ensuring no one gets left behind in this supposedly digital revolution, we might have a chance to succeed. Okay, but the fact that it is not easy, and I would like to impress onto this group here is that when we talk about sustainability, we are talking about a multi-stakeholder environment. Same thing for creating the problem statement. Same thing for creating the iterative solutions. We are not talking about one solution that we can solve that all. If we have that mentality, we can go on and do greater things. Moving on to the next slide, green financing. Very simple explanation. I try to make it very, very simple. That is why this slide doesn't look too sophisticated. Green financing is critical for sustainable digital development in ASEAN. As with all things, it is also very unequal in terms of the foreign domestic investment within the 10+1 countries within ASEAN itself. To ensure ASEAN's digital transformation is sustainable, we need to prioritize and mobilize green financing. Okay, how we do that? It means we will direct investments toward environment-friendly projects and technology that supports both digital development and environmental protection. This cannot be done individually. It has to have the mindset change to make sure that digital development and environmental protection is kept on the top of our mind. Green financing can, of course, support development of renewable energy sources to power data centers and digital infrastructure. We know for a fact that renewable energy developers are normally created in places that's very far away from city centers. Okay, so how are we going to get the transmission of energy towards the data centers or towards populated areas is obviously a challenge. And if you do some research, you'll realize that energy transmission is often underinvested. And because why? Energy transmission is very expensive to actually to put money into your HVDC cable, the very big trunking cable. We talk about putting undersea cable, that is totally different level of pain. It's even more expensive. So all this factor into why we would see a drastic differentiation in terms of digitalization. And of course, funding innovative digital solutions for environmental challenge, which was previously talked about, for example, agriculture. Agriculture has so much scope because there is so much ability for us to reduce emissions while we are actually doing agriculture as well. Later on, we'll definitely talk more about how we could achieve that through AI and through all your digitalization itself. Moving on to the next slide. I'm talking about very generic things here. Okay, stronger together, regional cooperation for digital transformation. What we could actually do to actually help strengthen what we want to achieve as a group, as a huge body of many nations together. Joint development and joint research and development is critical. Harmonizing digital regulations, we have talked about, and is of course critical as well. Something that's often not talked about, but it would be very, very important now and of course in the near future, is cybersecurity and data privacy. More and more we realize that this go hand in hand as we digitize. And Singapore in the past, where we were not so digitized, never had this problem of cybersecurity. But now, because of more data flowing through us, with more family officers residing in Singapore, 15% of family officers are now residing in Singapore in the world. So technical for digital fraud and cybersecurity threat is a real problem. One thing I want to impress is that no country can achieve digital transformation alone. Same thing for sustainability. Regional cooperation is a must. There is no way about it to overcome challenges to harness the full potential of AI and digital technologies. By working together, ASEAN member states can share knowledge, pool resources, and implement collaborative projects to accelerate digital adoption. In one recent seminar, I realized that through working together, ASEAN can actually solve our energy problem by just having, if I could remember correctly, 8 pump hydro storage to store energy. That amazes me. But would it ever be done? That is actually a geopolitical problem. It is not a technology problem. So all our technology is already available, but whether it could be done require all the actors to come together, and we can actually achieve energy security. We can achieve a lot of security because the technology is already available. Next slide, please. Setting up the stage for success, policy reform and digital development. We of course definitely need investment in digital infrastructure, digital literacy skills development, tax incentive for digital business, data privacy, ethical AI framework. Singapore being relatively developed, and of course Japan being very developed in this, we already have all this regulatory framework. We already have all this digital infrastructure inbuilt, and we assume to be working really well in country already. Okay, of course, governments will have a critical role to play in creating a conducive environment for digital adoption, supportive policies to incentivize investment in digital infrastructure, and promoting digital literacy. Literacy part is, of course, one of the most difficult things to actually do. I mean, I participated in digital literacy exercise as part of my giving back to the community. It is a very, very big challenge. And of course, skills development. Even, I'm sure some of you would know that Singapore has often been touted as one of the most forgiving economies, whereby we give people certain credits to actually upgrade themselves, being paid by the government. That is already a challenge to get people to actually upgrade the skills needed to get ourselves ready for the next digital revolution. And of course, why we are doing this? Because we want to foster growth. We want to create a very much bigger pool of very, very enthusiastic and of course skilled digital pioneers. Which will also include providing tax incentives for digital businesses, investing in digital skills and training programs, and developing a robust regulatory framework for digital privacy, cybersecurity, and the ethical use of AI. All this needs to be done before we could actually generate much more inclusivity and activity for AI activities within ASEAN itself. Next slide, please. Moving forward, the key takeaways and call to action. Okay, that we actually need to address the digital divide through targeted investment and capacity building. And it is definitely not a piece of cake. Across, we have a lot of standards that digital standards we have built already in ASEAN. To actually put policy to action is a challenge. Big reason being the difference in, of course, the FDI levels. Singapore is the top in ASEAN. I can't say for the rest, but we all need to level up to a certain degree that we all can be comfortable in pushing greater digital access using AI for all our activities. Why? To actually increase efficiency, increase productivity for the region as a whole. Moving back into AI and of course robotization. In the future, entire sorts of ASEAN is getting really old. How are we going to mobilize AI to take care of our older generation and keep them productive as well? That is not an impossibility. I mean, already there is exoskeleton which is available. I've actually ordered one. That is already a consumer grade exoskeleton that's already available in the market. So all this technically could actually increase our productivity as a human being or as a future human being. Prioritize green financing or sustainable digital development, strengthen regional cooperation for knowledge sharing, and of course, joint initiative. There are many joint initiatives within ASEAN itself, which I don't have the time to talk about it here, but there are. But how we implement it, actionable plans, and actually make sure everybody goes along together to get certain goals that we all understand that is working for ASEAN is a very big challenge. Of course, implementing supporting policies to encourage digital adoption and innovation. So all this will be very critical. And to me, the one fundamental attitude that ASEAN would need to have is we would need to do away with what I always call the zero-sum strategy. For ASEAN to grow together, we need to understand that ASEAN needs to have shared priorities. We also need to have the idea we need to have shared prosperity. Hence, to get ahead, the other country cannot fall behind. So this positive thinking that every ASEAN member country need to move ahead in digitalization and AI is an attitude that a lot of policymakers need to actually think about. Next slide, please. Now is the time where I try to sell a little bit about my own country. Singapore's role, a catalyst for change, a leading light in ASEAN digital transformation. Singapore's strength is, of course, we are considered to be advanced digital infrastructure, a robust regulatory framework, and a skilled workforce. Our workforce is not exactly very, very big, but it's sizable. So Singapore can share its expertise in digital skills training, cybersecurity, capacity building, ethical AI frameworks. Okay, we have achieved certain kind of status as in the world-class digital infrastructure, strong commitment to innovation, and is uniquely positioned to be a leader in ASEAN digital transformation. In fact, we lead a lot of programs to actually help bridge the digital divide within ASEAN itself. We can leverage this strength to support neighbors through knowledge sharing, capacity building, collaborative projects, and offer training programs in digital skills, providing assistance in developing cybersecurity capabilities and sharing expertise. At the same time, even for our ESG reporting, we have actually achieved certain standards that hopefully would be able to share this sustainability mindset with the rest of ASEAN itself. Moving on to the next slide, please. Of course, our very important part what we want to talk about is Japan's role, a partner in progress. Japan, of course, has a very, very long history of having a technological leadership within the region itself, and of course, experience in development, existence, strong economic ties with ASEAN. However, Japan can contribute through investments in digital infrastructure, technology transfer, and joint R&D projects. But one of the examples is through the previous presentation where we talk about being invested in Vietnam to help regenerative farming within Vietnam. Vietnam being one of the biggest producers for rice in the region would actually benefit from geospatial location to actually check on the emission for its growth of whatever agricultural products. Similarly to places in Pakistan where they are talking about how they're going to use technology to look at how to regenerate the soil. A lot of people don't understand that more and more our soil degradation within the region, within the world, is rapidly declining. How are we going to actually enhance to regenerate the soil to make sure that we have better farm produce in the future is actually very critical, because a lot of people have been saying that the minerals is actually lacking within the soil. How are we going to make it better again through using biochar, for example, or through using less chemical fertilizers to understand the growing patterns for our agriculture would actually help our soil regenerate. All this technology is critical and it needs to be really mobilized to help more farmers without them understanding the technology, but being able to take actionable steps to see real growth through our use of back-end AI technology to help them. Once again, I would like to say Japan is a critical partner for ASEAN in its digital transformation journey. Technological expertise, experience in developing existence, strong economic ties makes it an ideal collaborator. I would really love the fact that ASEAN-Japan Center would actually really be very vested in the growth of ASEAN itself, to have more representative to actually help such technological transfer or even aid knowledge into how this could be done in country within ASEAN. Of course, for most of the agriculture-based countries, the country can contribute to ASEAN development through obviously investments, tech transfer, joint research and development programs. And that includes the support of development of communications network, share experts in robotics and AI. Because, for example, in Singapore itself, even though we are a developed nation, there are certain things we require help from other friendly countries to make sure that we have smart city solutions that could actually reduce our carbon footprint and to reach our net zero goal. For the real reason that Singapore will be very difficult to reach our actual net zero goal without actually doing a lot of drastic changes in how we go about on our daily activities. Okay, basically, next slide, please. That is basically what I want to talk about. It's very simple. I would like to add these two quotes to my presentation because I feel it adds to the gravity of the challenge as well as the message that digitization in the era of global sustainability pivot is teaching us. Okay, as what Michelangelo actually said, the greatest danger for most of us is not that we aim too high and we miss it, but we aim too low and we reach it. Okay, so in the era whereby we are talking about mitigation and we are not talking about adaptation, we might come to the fact that we think that mitigation is too hard, then we want to move into adaptation. But the reality is that we need to do both things at the same time. But are we doing it, or do we have the will to do it? So that is another story. And of course, a very famous American author, Helen Keller. Alone, we can do so little, but together we can do so much. This quote emphasizes the importance of collaboration. Okay, to me, collaboration is key in our sustainability challenge, and a partnership to achieve this digital transformation. It reinforces the message of regional cooperation and the need for ASEAN countries, Singapore and Japan to work together to overcome the barriers for AI adoption. With that, thank you very much. Move on to the last slide. And I hope to learn from all of you when we come to talk about the panel. And thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this particular event.
Thank you so much, Alex, for giving us a broader regional perspective and how we can move together to address these challenges in our environment. And I think this gives us enough information as we move forward to our panel discussion, which will be moderated by our very capable moderator, Director Arlene Romasanta of DENR. Director Arlene Romasanta currently serves as the Chief Information Officer of DENR with over 30 years of experience in digital transformation and ICT governance. As proof of her outstanding work, Director Arlene has received numerous recognitions, including back-to-back Southeast Asia Legend CIO Awards for 2023 and 2024, and 2024 Cyber Woman of the Year. Without a doubt, Director Arlene is a recognized leader in leveraging ICT for sustainability and innovation. Let's all give a warm welcome to our panel moderator, Director Arlene Romasanta. Over to you, Director Arlene.
Thank you so much, Ms. Katrina. Okay, thank you for our participants for joining us this afternoon. I am Arlene and I am moderating this panel discussion. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Hiroya Ishitsubo-san. Thank you so much for your presentation, and also to Mr. Alex Hong. Those presentations are really interesting. No, I am wondering that our participants are getting their hands on to type the questions on the chat box. So I encourage everyone to type in your questions now. And I know, and I consider that there are already 2 or more questions posted in the chat box, and I would like to go back to them, but let me begin with just some of the few questions on hand that will set the tone for our discussion. Okay, let me begin with Mr. Ishitsubo-san. Yeah, so Sagri is very interesting, no? The technology that you use more on the satellite data and AI, no? And that is very much noted, and we wanted to know how Sagri ensure that the benefits of carbon credit projects are equitably shared between farmers and investors, especially in developing countries.
Thank you. And if you call me, my pronunciation is last name is difficult, you can call me Hiro. And so to answer your questions, sure thing. So to answer the question, so Sagli, as explained in my presentation, Sagli acts as a kind of project manager of carbon credit project. And under our project, we typically structure the project where we can provide incentives to farmers in ASEAN countries. For example, I can say we provide two types of benefits to farmers. One, monetary benefits. So as I said, we get kind of investment from a Japanese company, and then we can share the invested fund with the local farmers in addition to the cost to combat the farmers' practices. So we can invite them to other incentives. And the second one is benefit related to access to the technologies. So of course, we can monitor farmers' activities like soil conditions or the status of reduction of chemical fertilizers. So we can visualize the information to farmers and investors. So for farmers, once they understand how much chemical fertilizer they put, and also if they see the potential reduction opportunity to reduce chemical fertilizers, it's really benefit for them to consider reducing cost itself. And also once they see we can monitor parameters such as pH and CEC, which is related to agriculture farmlands practices. So once we use these information to provide advisory to the farmers, so that they can consider converting their farmland practices more eco-friendly. That's a second benefit for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hiro-san.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a follow-up question to that, can you share some use cases, maybe in ASEAN member countries that already use your technology? And can you also share in monetary value the income that the farmers gain
Yep.
from using your technology? Thank you.
Sure. So for monetary value, actually we partner with actually local agriculture companies in Vietnam, for example. So we provide funds to them, and then actually they have good relationship with local farmers. So what they do is they can consider reducing the cost of fertilizer once the farmers can confirm they can participate in the program. So they can actually reduce their cost once they participate in the program. So that's a monetary value. And then regarding access of the technology, is that we can monitor total nitrogen in the farmland in kind of ASEAN countries. So once we see higher total nitrogen, we can consider, of course, we can get the ground data as well. But once we see the kind of available nitrogen, we can ask them to consider reducing chemical fertilizer input. So actually, even for this kind of discussion, we can partner with local agriculture company if the new practice can be installed like a sustainable way in the specific region or country.
Okay, that's good to know that Vietnam is already trying your technology and reducing costs. No, you mentioned that, so it means that they can generate savings at the farmer side. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Let me check the question. Actually, your co-speaker has a question. Has a question for you.
Can I ask? Can I
I
ask him?
think Mr. Alex Hong can
Yeah.
state his question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to ask because because I know that you are doing work in Vietnam, and to me Vietnam does a lot of rice farming, and rice farming has a reputation of actually having a lot of methane production, and I'm sure your technology can actually detect methane. How do you advise the farmers to change their irrigation methods to actually reduce methane output, which contribute to 28 times to 34 times more harm than carbon itself? And of course, your technology can also detect nitrogen in the land when it reaches out to the rivers or whatever. How do we actually use that information to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers? Because in a lot of countries that I know, for example in Pakistan, it's the vicious cycle whereby you are more or less forced to use chemical fertilizers in your farms because you're indebted to a certain structure to use fertilizers and to use their seeds for the farm itself. So it's actually a social economic environment. And how does the technology enable that breaking of this to create more income and to reduce the harm of production? Sorry, it's a long question. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Hirosan, would you like to give response to that?
So actually, yeah. So in the Vietnam, for example, so actually, it's really just needed to discuss a local farmers union or like local agriculture companies that we need to understand their demand actually. So we are a Japanese company, and then we can structure the carbon credit project or carbon set programs. But the most important thing is ask their needs, and then we can deploy our technology to the each countries or each region, so that we can achieve the kind of good partnership.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to both of you. Let me just check on the chat box. One question for Sagri.
Okay.
Yep, from our anonymous attendee, the EU will soon be implementing CBAM, or the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which will affect a lot of the companies, local and multinational in the ASEAN. How can SAGRI possibly help set the tone in creating carbon trading policies in ASEAN countries with no carbon policies yet, as well as in helping companies resilient to CBAM in the future?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So actually, Sagli is a startup so that we can actually, it's difficult to kind of come up with a policy itself. But for example, we in Japan, we are participating in a kind of government agency program that we want to introduce best practices to some like carbon taxonomy. If, for example, Thai taxonomy would be prepared in short term, and then we are kind of trying to be in a partner or like a contributing to the development of taxonomy using our kind of technology as best practice in Japan. So this kind of like kind of introducing Japanese technology to those countries will be potential like opportunity to kind of developing the kind of policy type of initiatives in each country. So we need to, of course, we are private sector company, so it's really difficult to develop policies, but we can give influence using our technology. That's what I believe.
Thank you for those answers. Maybe ASEAN-Japan Center can be the bridge, no?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a call for Miss Katrina and Dr. Julius. All right. So let me continue with another question. Sorry, I cannot let you out for this because another question about Sagri. So where is it in Vietnam does Sagri have your project going on? And can this be applied in other than rice crops, such as vegetable scrap, tea crop, or fruit tea crop?
Thank you. So as I said, our press release will be ready next Monday. So I cannot mention deeply about the current project, but I'm in Thanh Hoa now. So Thanh Hoa in Vietnam. So maybe someone can see the location. And also crop type is also, please check out my website next Monday. But yes. And also I'm moving to, actually I'm Thanh Hoa now. I moved to Kienjiang tomorrow, and also Kanto. So that's another location during my trip in Vietnam. So potential like so yes, that's what I can tell you guys now.
So that's something that they have to think about, no?
Yep, please. Yep.
All right. Okay. So let me move on with another question posted on our Q&A. And both of you can share your opinions or insights on this. As we move towards carbon neutrality, what do you see as the most critical challenges for businesses in ASEAN Japan in reducing their carbon footprint, especially startups that may not yet be familiar with carbon footprint tracking? What are the first steps they can take to begin integrating this into their business practices? Who wants to go first? Hmm. So this is about carbon footprint and its tracking.
Let me try to explain
Okay,
this
thank
in a
you.
way, because every country themselves would actually we actually need to report our sustainability thing to, scope 1, 2, and 3, right? To me, we have no problem with the MNCs reporting scope 1 and 2, because they are very familiar with actually reporting scope 1 and 2. But scope 3 has always been a problem because it involves all their suppliers and all the SMEs to actually play ball at the same time. But how do we actually get them to actually understand the importance of scope 3 for in terms of the actual numbers? It's actually, honestly speaking, even a mystery to all of us. It would actually, the first few times when we try to do this reporting, when we get the numbers, to be absolutely truthful with you, it will be quite a challenge, and the numbers would not be accurate. But what is very important is that we understand there are numbers to work on. Once we have a baseline to understand this, the basic things that we want to reduce is we're going to reduce energy costs, for example, reduce energy use, right? How do we do that for our SME? That directly contributes to actually our bottom line, right? And the next thing is that our reputational enhancement, when we can actually communicate what we do actively for our sustainability and circularity to our consumers. What will it actually help us in terms of our branding, and of course in terms of our responsibility to our community? That is the thing that I can't put it in numbers, but in the end, if you don't have a sustainability practice in line with your carbon reduction, and of course your ability to become circular in your SME activities, you tend to be losing out because everyone else is doing it, and it's no longer a fact that is a good to have, or it's actually only based on reporting. You are supposed to report by 2026 anyway for most countries. So it's actually more or less a moral responsibility to your consumers to do what is right. And of course now it's regulated to do what is right. So to me, you have to look at the basics of your energy use and of course your water use. Yeah.
And should I
Okay,
answer,
nice
right?
try, Mr. Hawk. Now it's your turn, Mr. Hirasan.
Okay, sure. So I think the difficult part is typically lack of historical data. So to consider how to kind of achieve neutrality, when people say, okay, it's really difficult for me, that means they don't historical data. If they have historical data or some data related to kind of carbon footprint, they can analyze how to achieve neutrality or how to reduce the footprint. But it's for someone, it's very new type of concept, carbon footprint. So and then they don't monitor or track their activity from this perspective of carbon footprint. So that's why the first step is somehow, because I see some general like tool to monitor carbon footprint for general tracking system, then people should start from that type of beginners entry type of product to monitor or measure carbon footprint, and then in the future even though for those companies need to understand more sector centric type of carbon footprint. So that's the second step. So first is kind of energy or kind of logistics, etc. The more general type of carbon footprint is easier for them to consider tracking.
Okay, thank you so much. No,
I'd
those
like to
are
add something.
basics.
I'd like to add something
Okay,
as well.
go ahead.
Because even for simple things like, for example, a PV solar panel, right? We think that solar panels is all the same, right? But there are solar panels existing out there that has a lower carbon footprint. So people need to understand that while you think that the carbon footprint you actually reduce your carbon footprint by getting renewable energy. But your choice of purchase for your PV panels would also actually matter. So all this actually matters into your entire, don't even call it accounting, your actual business practice, right? Whether you want to choose a silica-based PV panel, which tend to crack or tend to have a lower use across the 25 years of your purchase, or you want to buy a slightly more expensive but a silica-free PV that is flexible, that actually can use for 25 years. So all this actually involves your consumers to understand the carbon footprint in the end. What is the actual purchase so-called action that you want to do? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Mr. Hong. Actually, we have another question related to the Sagri technology. Is there
Thank
any
you.
possibility for us to develop a project with Sagri for JCM? Our email is. Please respond, Mr. Hirosan.
Sure. So I don't know how much this person knows about the JCM, but the recently Japan had started to develop JCM methodology for agriculture, and then they have drafted first methodology for rice cultivation in Philippines. So as I said, if this person is in the Philippines, it can good to start the collaboration soon, and then also we heard that the Japan government want to expand our JCM collaboration for paddy field project in ASEAN region. So even he or she is outside of the Philippines, we can consider such as Vietnam, Cambodian, these kind of countries.
Thank you for that. Actually, from the same person, Fitrajaya Piliang, we are working with rice mill owner and paddy farmers in Indonesia. How we could apply the technologies that we are talking now?
Okay. So okay. So I don't think I don't see in the near future chance in Indonesia for the JCM. That's based on my understanding, but I need to check with the government. The people need to check the government. I'm not the kind of person who can develop a structure, but yeah, as long as I know. And then but access to technology itself is we can consider because as I said, we can monitor the water level or like a water management system that which is also not only for carbon credit. This is for optimizing the water use. So that kind of from this kind of perspective, it's really good to consider collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now let me move on with Mr. Alex Hong. I'm sure he is ready to answer some of our questions. So to set the tone, how can countries with varying levels of technological advancement effectively integrate AI into their climate action plan?
But where was what's the question again?
How can countries with varying levels of technological advancement effectively integrate AI into their climate action plan?
Okay,
Any insights on that?
Give me a minute. They definitely can, because is it the question that is okay? They definitely would have to actually align, because as I already mentioned in my presentation, ASEAN has very many different levels in terms of our ability to take advantage of AI, and of course to take advantage of digitalization. But first, we actually have to ensure that the digitalization can actually impact all of our 10 member countries. One of the biggest reasons is that we actually need to get digitalization access ready for all people. So there is actually in ASEAN already an action plan to take care of that, and I think it's either been led by Singapore or can't remember who was that. But there is actually a way whereby we are getting all the digital tools ready for ASEAN to actually make sure that the people or the small and medium enterprises can actually take advantage of all this, so that they could actually for example, want to actually take advantage of even the satellite communications or the imaging technology, they can do that. But we need all the basic infrastructure. Of course, the electrification has to be there. The internet penetration has to be there as well, because that is an in-country thing that ASEAN as a whole, honestly speaking, has no control over. But it requires a lot of collaboration between the countries to say that if you once you reach a certain level of internet penetration, there could actually be training programs to help people with e-commerce readiness, to actually help to actually understand how you do your data, understand your data, how you manipulate data, how you make use of data, to actually make sure that the data that you collect is actually useful to you. To me, the ability for in-country people to understand the power of collecting data, the right data, and the way to use it would actually propel them to greater heights. Simple thing. To me, the biggest thing agriculture, for example, what Sagri is doing is actually providing actionable insights to farmers. That to me is commendable, because that to me is very important. For the longest time, farmers have always been thinking that I'm doing what my father or mother has been telling me. Yeah, it could be 80% correct, right? But with digital tools, you are 100% correct, more or less, right? Because there is no guessing game. You can predict, you can forecast the weather. You know by actually changing irrigation patterns, you actually reduce methane production for rice through how your growth. When you irrigate the water and when you dry the stalks, for example, you can drastically reduce emissions from that. So to me, the ability to understand data, to get all the communication infrastructure ready, is actually a game changer for places like Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam, for example. That would actually markedly reduce our carbon emission from agriculture, for example. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, what Mr. Ong has shared is also presented in his presentation. No, we are talking about the readiness index, right?
Yep.
So if the country is ready in terms of infrastructure, connectivity, capability, and tools, right? So those are contributors in terms of integrating AI into the climate action of each of the country. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Huang. Let me move on with another question. How do you balance the fast-paced adoption of AI with addressing the fundamental digital divide in ASEAN countries?
Okay. Let me explain. Let me answer that. Balancing the rapid AI adoption means focusing on several key factors. Okay, first we need inclusive AI development, prioritizing solutions that benefit underserved communities. Okay, to me, AI and digitalization really is the game changer when we want to talk about lifting entire communities. That is exactly why I'm so passionate about providing electrification, because that together with digitalization, together with AI, really change entire communities. Okay, prioritizing solutions that benefit underserved communities, and of course, ensuring ethical AI practices. Okay, we must also continue to bridge digital divide by investing in infrastructure. Of course, providing digital literacy. Literacy is informed in terms of actually understanding how your particular community can leverage on digitization for your particular skill sets, not telling you that this is something you must do. What I really personally hate is that we actually tell people this is what you must do A to Z so you can get prosperity. To me, that is wrong. To me, your country has its own culture, your own contextualized way to show that you can contextualize and build your digital infrastructure. That is unique in country. So I can't provide that completely templated solution, but I can provide the means for you to create your solutions. That is exactly why a lot of solutioning fail, because it's actually been shafted down a lot of people's throat half the time, right? But what I want is that the people that runs the community would actually create their own solutions through through the solutions that's being provided. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is that capacity building, of course, is very important, which means investing in AI-related skills training, facilitating knowledge sharing within ASEAN and beyond. If you already noticed, if you have all the digitized, if you have access to computers, access to smart tablets, you can actually have a range of trainings that's available in the internet. So once that basic provision is actually being done, you realize that there will be an explosion of knowledge in country, and how people can actively use that skill to create what is contextualized for their own country will be astounding. Okay, you of course, as a basic premise, you need a strong policy framework with ethical guidelines and robust data governance. And more you realize that data governance is basically good, is a thing that we really need to address, because if not, you realize that a lot of problems will actually arise for developing countries. A lot of people end up being cheated. The digital so-called the presence will be compromised and all that kind of thing. Finally, the PPP, the public-private partnership, is essential for leveraging resources and promoting inclusiveness of AI innovation. By focusing on all these interconnected things, I think ASEAN would actually have a good chance to actually really push ourselves up and ensure that the benefit is shared by all.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. I think you covered everything that is very comprehensive, no, in terms of catching up with the fast-paced adoption of AI. I would like to, I think with the limited time that we have, I would like to check on the questions on the chat box. How can AI help identify the most effective policies for reducing carbon emissions globally? You have a say on this?
I mean, personally, I do feel that AI doesn't think for us. I'd like to add my personal opinion on this. Basically, it's a personal opinion. Is that more and more we think that AI is the magic pill. It is not. AI is a collection of what we program it to do. It also has our biases, our limitation, and our fears. Basically, it operates like a digitized version of a human being, right? So you can't let it think on our behalf, but it will provide you with certain answers that you need your moral guidelines to actually tell it whether it's doable or not doable. I mean, if you actually really ask the AI what is the biggest problem that we have now, right? You'll probably say it's human beings. Are you going to get rid of all the human beings around? You can't, right? That's my point. That is the logical solution, is not the moral solution, right? So you can offer suggestions. It can actually offer suggestions that will improve ourselves as human beings, as a society. But ultimately, the moral decisions, what is right to do, comes from us human beings, and it comes from a collective, of course, consciousness of us being in ASEAN. Yeah.
Thank you. And there are two more questions actually about AI. So how can we ensure that AI-driven climate solutions are equitable and accessible to marginalized communities?
I think I mentioned that before. It is the way whereby we use digitalization and of course access to energy, that makes sure that people can actually get access to what I would think communications and skills training on the internet, that through their own ability can upskill themselves to actually get themselves out of the harmful pattern of poverty. One of the ways, for example, China actually uses e-commerce to actually help their farmers to actually be able to sell their produce at much higher prices in e-commerce environment. That to me actually really trust this whole bunch of people that has never been able to sell their produce without the middleman through a larger audience, right? To me, that creates much more wealth and much more knowledge that they could build on and create more opportunities. Of course, people have varying things to talk about, your TikToks and things like that. But it does actually offer them much more varied ability to reach out to the larger market, to actually communicate with the global community. Yeah.
Okay. In your experience, what are the key challenges in deploying AI solutions for climate change mitigation in developing countries?
I can answer because I already mentioned it. This is also lack of the historical data, right? When because AI solution is gonna work when we can have a kind of training data, and then in developing countries, there are so many situations that they don't have enough kind of historical data or like a training data. So that's why we can deploy a solution, but the accuracy is not like enough sometimes. So key challenge that we need to gather enough training data to provide enough AI solutions. So that's a short answer to this question.
Isubo-san,
Thank you so much.
just curious to know, how do you get the people to trust the system, especially when the farmers have no real idea of what AI actually does back end? Yeah.
So we of course check with the actual data compared to the actual data. So we can get soil sampling of the ground from ground, and then we then do a typical like chemical level test, and then we can provide a AI driven data, and then we can compare that. And
Yep.
so people said accuracy of our technology is this kind of comparison
Mhm.
of the between our data and the actual data.
No, I know that. I know definitely your product is accurate, but to the farmers themselves, there has not much communication with
I
high
see
level
what you
technology.
said.
How do they trust that what you tell
Yep.
them is the truth kind of thing?
Yeah, that's why we developed the business model that we can collaborate with local agricultural farmers and agricultural company or universities. So once they are comfortable with our technology, they can let the farmers know this is good to deploy. We don't I don't go the farmer directly because they don't know
Yeah,
us.
we can't. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we partner with the local company or universities.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much to both of our speakers. Actually, we are running out of time. We should be wrapping up this time. But I would like to throw one last question for Mr. Alex Hong. So, how would you encourage collaboration with Singapore in terms of regional cooperation on the areas that you are leveraging on, or you have strengths like cybersecurity, data privacy, and maybe environmental technology?
Actually, Singapore government, to be absolutely honest, is very open to collaboration because we are basically open book. The reason why Singapore exists is because we are the middlemen since the time we are born. I mean, you realize that Singapore is not as supposed to exist because we have no resources. So the ability for us to leverage on our financial hub status of our innovation hub status, the reason why we exist is because we want to what I call collaborate with more people very closely, right? We can actually structure finance for, I mean, effectively for people. We get the finance for people as well. We also would actually help startup innovation to reach out to all this all this all these need for sustainable technologies. Me, for example, I'm actually doing a lot of other work with regards to introducing certain technologies to South Africa, for example, to help them actually get off-grid energy. Off-grid energy, to me, is actually one of the ways whereby energy, where you don't have actually a very good infrastructure, is a halfway house to actually help people get energy, get communications before the national energy grid is built. All this involves, of course, people like us and a lot of other people to work together to actually make sure that it happens. I mean, government-wise, there's already everything that's available. Is just all you need to do is ask. Simple as that. Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for that. And that is for our all of our attendees today. Uh, okay, before I wrap up, I think I would have to consider this one last question about GHG emissions. Now, I think AI has great potential in improving the accuracy in accounting GHG emissions and reductions, which can be applied in carbon market system. Is there a plan to use this in joint crediting mechanism of Japan? So it's both for you. This question is both for the both of you.
So Under JGM, I don't see any plan to apply, but so sometimes it's difficult to define AI itself, right? Because I understand more and more methodology about carbon credit is focused on technology side, but like AI itself, we need to, because the data-driven approach or some like related wording we can see, but AI or machine learning itself, it's difficult to define to mention in the policy. So I think the in the future maybe this kind of similar wording would be in the methodology, but for now I don't see it's difficult to mention directly AI, right? That's the short answer. And also GHG emission, also this one is similar. AI, because people say AI, machine learning, but how to apply AI or how to apply like data-driven approach is kind of more important. So just short, like just say AI, it's difficult to define in terms of measure GHG emission. So someone can use AI to part of the calculation of the data, but I don't see someone who can say we can measure GHG with AI or something. So that's really difficult to answer, but that's my short answer.
Thank you for that. How about you?
I totally agree with him, because telling a generic answer like AI will solve
Yes.
all the world's problem is I mean I would love to have something like that happening. It's like your boss telling you, hey Alex, I don't know what is the data that we need, but we need all the data. Right? It's basically that, right? Unless you know what data you put into the system to generate the things that you want, so that you can actually really have some semblance of understanding what you want to solve, AI is not going to solve your problem. I hate to say this, right? But we will get there as long as, see, even our scope 1, 2, and 3, we are actually trying our best to understand how we actually get all the data so we can make sense of it in order to improve it incrementally, right? But there is no one solution that we are aiming for. We are trying our best to gather enough data to make sense of it, to put through a deep learning system, AI system, to create the solutioning that we come out with iteratively, right? And AI is not the last thing that can solve all our problems. It would make it more efficient, definitely, but it is always an iterative part whereby we keep improving. More importantly, for example, Singapore needs to talk to Japan. We need to talk to anybody who wants to solve the problem, so that we can solve the problem together as a group. Yeah, that to me is more important rather than any technology we are going to deploy in the near future. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Hong, and of course, Mr. Hiro-san. This is a very productive discussion this afternoon, and I'm sure that this discussion stirs interest in harnessing AI and digital technology like SAGRI, no, in reducing carbon emissions in ASEAN and Japan. Thank you so much, and back to you, Miss Katrina.
Thank you so much for a very lively discussion. I believe we have had a very meaningful back and forth with our audience and even with our speakers. And we wish to thank everyone for staying through the end of the webinar. We thank the Philippine DNR for supporting us and co-organizing this webinar. And as we have mentioned, the ASEAN-Japan Center is open to collaborating with governments and private sectors who are interested in engaging on these digital solutions to address climate and even social problems between ASEAN and Japan. So please stay tuned for our next events. And if you wish to contact us for anything, please send your email through info_rpa@asean.or.jp. Finally, we will also be updating our event page with the presentations of our speakers. So you may also check our website later on for the uploaded presentation files. I believe this has come to an end, and we thank you for your support. We hope you will also take the time to respond to our survey form after this webinar, which you will receive directly from Zoom in order for us to improve our webinars in the future. Once again, thank you so much for a very meaningful discussion, and we wish everyone a good afternoon.
Ms. Katrina, can we request a photo ops for all the attendees?
Oh, right, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Alex Hong, please. Stay.
Yeah, I'll stay for 30 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think we have captured that in our screenshot. Once again,
Thank you.
thank you everyone and have a pleasant afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.